Hello, and welcome to Module 3 of the RURAP online course. I'm Janka Kazakova from the University of National and World Economy, and together we will go through this module focused on innovation and the innovation process. We will have three parts in this module. The first one focuses on participatory innovation process. The second one focuses on the actors and stakeholders in participatory innovation process. And the third one focuses on participatory visioning for peripheral rural areas. The learning goals we have in this module are related to getting acquainted with the innovation process per se and the principles of participatory innovation process. Then to recognize the importance of actors and stakeholders in these processes, and to recognize the role of participatory visioning for territorial development with a focus on peripheral rural areas. In the module, we will have both theory and definitions, and practical examples from peripheral rural areas. Let's start with the definition of innovation, a definition which we consider a classical innovation definition, which specifies innovation as the implementation of new or significantly improved product, process, a new marketing method, a new organizational method in business practice. From this perspective, we can have two types of innovations. One is the incremental innovation type, where we see innovations as a series of small improvements or optimization of the existing situation. Or we can have radical innovations, where we have a fundamental change of the existing situation. Throughout this module and the next module, we will see examples of both incremental and radical innovations implemented in the context of peripheral rural areas. There is another approach in which we can define the innovation types, and here I'm presenting the perspective taken in HNV Link project, which is focused on high nature value farmlands. And there we have defined the innovations related to products and markets, innovations related to farming techniques and management, innovations related to regulations and processes, as well as social and institutional innovations. You see the examples of the different innovations within each specific type, but you will hear and work more on these specific approach to innovations in module 4. So I will not discuss them here. What we focus in more details in this module are the social and institutional innovations, which are relevant for the territorial context of peripheral rural areas. And again, starting with the definition, we define social innovations as the new ideas, whether they are related to products, services, or models, that simultaneously meet social needs, and they meet them more effectively than alternatives, and create new social relationships and collaborations. If we now take into consideration the classical definition for innovations that we have seen at the start of our module, and try to translate them from the social institutional perspective, then when we speak about products in social innovation, we actually consider new outcomes, whether these are new businesses or new organizations or new services or products. When we speak about innovations in process and methods of production, in the social and institutional innovations, we speak about new approaches to creating value or to delivery of certain policies or certain services by the public institutions. We can also mean new people involved in the process, in the decision-making, or also shifting control within the process where decisions are being taken. If we consider the classical type of new markets in innovations, then in the social innovations, we see them as serving the variety of social groups of society, or responding to their different social needs in response to local demand that we have from our territories. When we speak about innovations in inputs, that would be a maximization or optimization in the use of local resources, including human resources and social capital that we have in the peripheral rural areas. And then again, looking at organizations, that would be establishing network collaboration or in some kind of innovative partnerships that can contribute to achieving the social needs in the specific territory. What is the role of institutions when we speak about social innovations and social and institutional innovations? Institutions are actually critical because they can favor innovation. They can also prevent innovation, or at least become a barrier to innovation happening in certain rural areas. But when they can favor innovation, they can also favor co-innovation between the different institutional levels, between local and national, national and European, or national and European level. And all these interactions are important when we speak for institutions that favor innovation. There are certain questions that we have to consider when we are assessing the institutional context for innovation. And these questions refer to the distance, whether it's a social distance or whether it's an institutional distance to decision-making for the territory. So how easy it is for certain people, certain businesses to get involved into decision-making for the territory. Is it a big distance or is it a short or small distance? What is the willingness for co-decision making and openness for the participation of other stakeholders in the respective institutions, whether it's specified in their rules and procedures or whether it's happening socially, informally, but still happening in the institutions that we are considering? Are there some institutional constraints for effective multi-stakeholder, multi-actor processes? What are these constraints? Where do they come from? Can we address them easily so that we can favor innovation happening in our peripheral rural area? All these assessments we do with a view to encourage participatory innovation processes. And with participatory processes, we aim to bring together the institutional, the expert, and the stakeholders' knowledge, either for better understanding the existing context in our peripheral rural area, or to develop solutions for achieving commonly agreed objectives. Or we can do it for both understanding the context and for developing solutions for the territory. And innovation in these participatory processes happens when the process finds ways to work across conventional system boundaries to create new socio-institutional constructs. So institutions and local actors and stakeholders can work together to develop the solutions to agree on objectives. What are the scales in the participatory innovation processes? We can have both horizontal collaboration of stakeholders and vertical collaboration of stakeholders. In the horizontal collaboration, we are speaking from the perspective of peripheral rural areas. We're considering collaboration at the local or the regional level, where we have collaboration between farmers and other stakeholders, so whether they are businesses, institutions, or other non-governmental civil society representatives. And this horizontal collaboration happens to create better conditions for the territory, for the high nature value farming, for the peripheral rural area. The benefits of this type of collaboration is that people come from the same territory, they have a feeling of connection, they understand and they work towards something they have in common, so they can share objectives more easily. In the vertical collaboration, where we have collaboration between the different system levels, that would be between farmers and other local stakeholders and citizens or consumers or policymakers or different governmental bodies at the different levels. And these different levels may all have certain interest in high nature value farming, for example, or the specific peripheral rural area. And the benefit of this type of collaboration and cooperation is that we have sufficient scope of different perspectives, different knowledges, experience, financial opportunities to cover the cost of the process happening. What is important to underline here is that the scope, whether it's horizontal or vertical, depends very much on ensuring this connection and closeness of the participants, but also providing sufficient breadth of the scope so that we can cover different perspectives. If it's very narrow, we don't have the variety of perspectives that potentially can contribute as well to achieving better solutions for the territory we are discussing. If it's too large, on the other hand, then the connection gets weaker, the commitment gets much weaker, and then it's not so beneficial for the final outcome. When we speak about participatory processes, including innovation processes, we also consider the level of formalization of these interactions in the participatory process, whether it's horizontal or whether it's vertical. We have a different level of formality in the organization. And this can vary from very loose networks. So we know some people, we get in contact, meet with them, discuss the issues, to very formalized partnership where we set up specific organization, we set up rules of procedures for this organization. We may choose a board of directors or whatever the formal organizational needs are. In these levels of collaboration and formalization, we can have organizations that enable participation, whether these are multi-stakeholder platforms, whether they are citizen panels, whether they are individual webinars or roundtables. Then we can have organizations that support innovation, whether there'll be local innovation teams or innovation hubs or innovation networks and platforms, to very specific agriculture-related learning communities where we have the farmer network or a network of pilot farms presenting certain types of innovation. We may have here in this level of formalization the operational groups under the European Innovation Partnership for Agriculture. So different examples, different objectives, different achievements, but all of them are having this common characteristic that they aim to promote new ways of achieving better conditions, better opportunities for the specific topic that is being discussed. We have certain level of challenges for the participatory processes, and we list them here as challenges, but they can also be looked from the perspective of principles, how to organize participatory processes so that they are more effective and achieve their objectives in the long term. The minimum requirement is having access to places, to venues, to areas where actors can interact, can get together, can learn from each other and innovate. Without having this space, whether it's an actual space or a virtual space, it's very difficult to achieve the interaction between participants in the process. And if we don't have that, motivation drops with time because the contact is not there to stimulate each other. The second aspect is related to the durability of the initiative. And securing the initiative with sufficient project time and resources. Clearly, when we speak about peripheral rural areas, it's much better to have long-term than short-term, because the long-term provides us the space and time to get to know each other better, to understand the different perspectives of the actors and stakeholders better, and also to be able to attract more resources, whether they're human resources or financial resources or other resources, to our initiative, and support it from different aspects. The third point here is related to the need of facilitation of the process. Even if we have the most positive collaborative environment, when we consider the different perspectives, different actors, different objectives, different needs in the long term and short term, it means that inevitably there can be some tensions while we are discussing the future that we want together, because the idea is to reach an agreement as a group together for the future of our territory. So the need for facilitation is very important. It's necessary that it starts from the very beginning, so that it's clear that the space in which we discuss and interact is actually a neutral environment in which we can share openly our positions, our ideas, and discuss them openly in order to reach these agreed objectives for the future. The third point relates to quick success. Very often when we start a process, we really want to go out of it very quickly with a very positive outcome, and then this motivates us, this gives us positive energy so that we can go out and work towards it. However, and especially in the context of peripheral rural areas, we have many issues, and many of these issues are long-term, not related only to the specific territory, but also more general socioeconomic conditions in the country. So quick fixes are not the solution to this process, and we need to invest more efforts in the process of making sure that we will have improvements of complex issues in the long term. In this process, we also need to ensure the long-term participation of actors and stakeholders, that is really committed participation, so that we don't have a big dropout of the process. Some dropout is inevitable. Certain actors and stakeholders have more time in certain periods of time, others have less time. But as long as we have the process secured and they know that they can come back in when they have more time again, it means that we actually ensure a truly innovative participation process for our peripheral rural area in the long term. And with this slide, we actually finish our first part of the module 3, which focuses on the participatory innovation process. And our next part will look deeper into the actors and stakeholders in peripheral rural areas.